First contact. The sleek human diplomatic corvette Concordia sliced through the void of space, propelled by the most advanced fusion drive technology humanity had yet developed. Captain Lena Sorensen stood on the bridge, her piercing blue eyes fixed on the viewport ahead. She couldn't fully suppress the nervous energy crackling through the crew. After all, this was undoubtedly the most important mission in human history. Humanity's early extrasolar colonies had blossomed in recent decades, the indomitable human spirit fueling an explosion of exploration and expansion. But they had always wondered, were they alone in the universe? The answer came in the form of a signal picked up by a deep space listening post, a complex series of pulses that could only be artificial in origin. After years of effort, the source had been triangulated to a star system 20 light-years away. And now, the Concordia was poised to make contact with humanity's cosmic neighbors. As the ship decelerated towards the alien world, Sorensen marveled at the sheer alienness before her. The planet was a mottled orange and crimson, its atmosphere swirling with exotic chemistry, nothing like the garden worlds favored by humans. In high orbit, vast crystalline structures glinted in the light of the alien sun. The aliens clearly possessed technology far in advance of humanity's own. A chime from the comm station jolted Sorensen out of her reverie. "Captain, we're being hailed," Lieutenant Park announced, his voice tinged with excitement and trepidation. Sorensen took a deep breath. The weight of history hung in the balance. "Put it through," she ordered, straightening her uniform. The main screen flickered to life, and Sorensen found herself face to face with a being that could only be described as a living fractal. Shimmering geometric patterns flowed across its form, vaguely suggestive of eyes, mouth, limbs. It spoke, its voice a melodic thrum that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in the mind. "Greetings, descendants of Sol. I am Ambassador Zix of the Krellian hegemony. Your journey to reach us has been noted." Sorensen inclined her head respectfully. "Ambassador Zix, I am Captain Lena Sorensen of the Terran Confederation. On behalf of all humanity, we extend our hand in friendship and peace." The alien's form rippled, prismatic colors dancing along its edges. "Your gesture is acknowledged, Captain Sorensen. But you must understand that your kind are young, raw, untested. You have much to learn before you can stand as equals with the elder races of the galaxy." Sorensen bristled inwardly at the tone of condescension, but maintained a measured exterior. "Ambassador, humanity may be young by the standards of the cosmos, but we have faced many trials in our history. We have endured, adapted, flourished. We now seek to take our place in the tapestry of the universe, to learn from and contribute to the wisdom of the ages." Bold words, Zix shimmered. "But the path to understanding is not an easy one. If your kind is to be accepted into the galactic community, you must prove yourselves worthy." Sorensen leaned forward intently. "Name your test, Ambassador. Humanity has never backed down from a challenge." The alien's form coalesced into a jagged spire. "Very well, Captain Sorensen. Let the trials of ascension begin. We shall see if the flame of humanity's spirit can burn bright among the ancient stars." As the screen went dark, Sorensen turned to her crew, determination etched in every line of her face. The first step had been taken. Now the real work would begin. To prove humanity's worth on the cosmic stage, no matter the trials ahead, they would face them head-on, with the tenacity and ingenuity that had brought them to the stars. For they were the emissaries of Earth, the vanguard of humanity. And they would not be found wanting. Rising tensions. In the months following first contact, human diplomats worked tirelessly to establish relations with the Krellian hegemony and other alien civilizations. Embassies were established. Trade routes proposed. Cultural exchange programs initiated. But despite the surface cordiality, tensions simmered beneath the facade of diplomacy. The Krellians, it became clear, viewed themselves as the rightful stewards of the galaxy, their advanced technology and ancient traditions giving them a presumed authority over the younger races. They doled out knowledge and resources as they saw fit, always with the unspoken understanding that the recipients were clients, not equals. For the humans, accustomed to controlling their own destiny, this paternalistic attitude grated. Matters came to a head during trade negotiations over access to a rich vein of hyperconducing crystals, a key component in advanced faster-than-light drives. Ambassador Zix, with all due respect, the terms your government is proposing are unacceptable, said Jacob Sorensen, the human trade envoy and brother of Captain Lena Sorensen. You're essentially asking for complete control over human crystal extraction and refinement, with only a fraction of the product being allocated for our use. The Krellian's form pulsed with jagged crimson lines. You presume much, human. The crystals are found on worlds under hegemony protection. Be grateful we are willing to share them at all. Jacob leaned forward, his eyes flinty. The Terran Confederation has already located several unclaimed crystal-rich asteroids in neutral space. We have the means to extract and process the crystals ourselves. We come to you in a spirit of cooperation, not supplication. Zix's form bristled with sparks of anger. You dare threaten to steal resources that are the hegemony's by right. This is your gratitude for our generosity in uplifting your primitive species. Jacob stood, his voice cold. Humanity will not be patronized or exploited. We seek partnership, not servitude. If the hegemony cannot accept that, perhaps our paths must diverge. As Jacob stormed out, the other human diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. They had all chafed under the Krellian's condescending attitude, but open defiance was a risky move. They could only hope human ingenuity and resolve would be enough to weather the coming storm. In the corridors of power on Krell, the hegemony leadership seethed at the humans' insolence. These upstarts needed to learn their place. If they would not accept the guidance of their betters, then perhaps the lesson must be taught through force. Warships were dispatched to key systems, their gleaming hulls bristling with weaponry that could shatter continents. The Krellian war machine, which had not been unleashed in millennia, creaked to life with a terrible purpose. On Earth and the human colonies, the news was greeted with a mix of fear and grim determination. They had known their assertion of independence would not go unchallenged, but the speed and scale of the Krellian response was staggering. In the great shipyards of Earth, Mars, and Titan, construction of warships accelerated to a breakneck pace. Human ingenuity had already produced marvels like the Helios-class battlecruiser, its molecular-edged hull impervious to all but the most advanced weaponry. But would it be enough against the might of an ancient empire? As the two sides plotted and postured, the galaxy held its breath. The coming conflict would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the shape of the cosmos for millennia to come. In the face of annihilation, would human courage and creativity be enough? Or would the flame of Earth's children be snuffed out before it could truly light the stars? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would rage against the dying of the light, with all the fierce, stubborn brilliance that had brought them to the heavens. The gauntlet is thrown. The ultimatum, when it came, was delivered with the cold arrogance of an empire assured of its own superiority. The holo image of Ambassador Zix towered over the United Nations chamber, its fractal form pulsing with icy light. People of Earth, it intoned, its voice resonating in the minds of all present. The Krellian hegemony has watched your species' reckless expansion and defiance with growing concern. Your refusal to accept your proper place in the order of the cosmos threatens the stability that we have maintained for eons. In the stunned silence of the chamber, Zix's form shifted, shards of light coalescing into a map of the galaxy. Systems under Krellian control glowed a baleful red, while human worlds were marked in a sickly green. Effective immediately, all human colonies and sectors adjunct to hegemony space are to be placed under our direct supervision. Your ships will be restricted to approved trade routes, and your technologies subject to our oversight. Any resistance will be met with swift and decisive retribution. A murmur of outrage rippled through the assembled diplomats, quickly swelling to a chorus of defiance. the president of the Terran Confederation, a stern woman with steel-gray hair and unflinching eyes, rose to respond. "Ambassador Zix," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "The people of Earth and her colonies reject your ultimatum. We are a free and sovereign nation, not a vassal to be commanded. We will not submit to tyranny, no matter how ancient or powerful the tyrant may be." Zix's form crackled with anger, jagged bolts of energy lashing out from its core. "Then you doom yourselves and your descendants to oblivion. The might of the hegemony will crush your pitiful defiance and make an example of your worlds for all the galaxy to witness." With a final burst of blinding light, the holo image vanished, leaving the chamber in a stunned, heavy silence. The enormity of the moment settled over the diplomats like a leaden shroud. They had, in essence, just declared war against the most powerful empire in the known universe. In the days that followed, the gears of war ground into motion with terrifying speed. The skies over Earth and the colony worlds filled with the contrails of thousands of warships, their hulls gleaming with the deadly promise of orbital bombardment platforms and ship-to-ship missiles. The first blow came without warning, a simultaneous assault on a dozen frontier colonies. Krellian warships, their hulls pulsing with malevolent energy, swept through the inadequate human defenses like a scythe through wheat. Domes cracked, atmospheres ignited, and millions perished in the blink of an eye. But even as the ashes of the first colonies drifted in the cosmic winds, humanity's resolve only hardened. In the shipyards and factories of Earth, 1,000 advanced warships took shape, bristling with weapons born of human ingenuity and desperation. In the research labs, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to unravel the secrets of Krellian technology, seeking any advantage that could turn the tide of the war. Breakthroughs in shielding, propulsion, and weaponry spilled forth in a relentless tide, each innovation a testament to human brilliance under pressure. And on the front lines, human soldiers and spacers fought with a tenacity and courage that astounded their alien foes. They were outgunned and outmatched, but they refused to yield, making the Krellians pay in blood for every inch of space. The war had begun, and it would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Against the might of an empire that had endured for eons, humanity stood alone, a defiant spark in the darkness. They might be crushed, their worlds reduced to cinders and their people to ashes. But they would not go quietly. They would fight with every ounce of strength, every shred of will, every spark of brilliance that the human spirit could muster. For in the face of annihilation, it was all they could do. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. The tide turns. In the depths of the Oort cloud, far beyond the orbit of Pluto, a lone human ship drifted in the darkness. The TSS Erebus was a Black Ops vessel, designed for stealth and infiltration. Its mission, to penetrate the very heart of Krellian space and strike a blow that would turn the tide of the war. Captain Nadia Sarin stood on the bridge, her hawkish features illuminated by the glow of the tactical displays. She had handpicked her crew for this mission, each one a specialist in their field, each one committed to the cause of human victory at any cost. "Status report," she barked, her voice cutting through the tense silence of the bridge. "All systems nominal," responded the ship's AI, its voice a soothing androgynous tenor. "Krellian sensor nets are blind to our approach." Nadia allowed herself a tight smile. The Erebus was equipped with the latest in human stealth technology, including a metamaterial cloaking system that bent light and sensor beams around the ship, rendering it virtually invisible. It was just one of the many breakthroughs that human scientists had achieved in the desperate years of the war. Faced with the overwhelming technological superiority of the Krellians, they had been forced to innovate, to push the boundaries of what was possible. And innovate they had. From the devastating star-killer torpedoes that could trigger a supernova in an enemy's home star, to the Ghost Marines, genetically enhanced super soldiers capable of infiltrating Krellian ships and stations, human ingenuity had begun to level the playing field. But it wasn't enough. The Krellians still held the upper hand, their vast empire able to absorb the losses and strike back with devastating force. What humanity needed was a decisive blow, a strike at the very heart of Krellian power. And that was where the Erebus came in. Its target was the Krellian homeworld itself, the seat of the hegemony's power. If they could strike there, it would send a message that humanity would not be cowed, that they would fight to the bitter end. As the ship slipped past the outer defenses of the Krellian system, Nadia felt a sense of grim determination settle over her. She knew the odds of success were slim, that they were likely flying to their deaths. But it was a price she and her crew were willing to pay for the sake of humanity's future. "Prepare for phase shift," she ordered, her voice steady. "We'll emerge in orbit over the primary continent, right above their central command complex." The crew worked with silent efficiency, their hands flying over the consoles as they prepared for the jump. In moments, the ship shimmered and vanished, only to reappear in the skies over the Krellian homeworld. Immediately, alarms began to sound as the Krellians registered the intrusion. Warships scrambled to intercept, their weapons locking onto the Erebus with deadly intent. But Nadia was ready. With a wordless cry, she unleashed the full might of the Erebus armaments, sending a barrage of star-killer torpedoes and quantum-entangled beams ripping into the Krellian defenses. The sky above the command complex erupted in a firestorm of destruction, the very fabric of space-time warping and twisting under the onslaught. And in that moment, as the Krellian war machine reeled in shock and confusion, a single message beamed out from the Erebus, broadcast on every frequency. "Humanity will never submit. We will fight to the last, and we will prevail. For we are the descendants of Earth, and our spirit is indomitable." As the Erebus was finally overwhelmed and destroyed, its final act of defiance echoed across the stars. And on 100 human worlds, weary defenders looked up with renewed hope and determination. The tide was turning. Humanity was far from beaten. And they would never, never surrender. Unlikely alliances. In the aftermath of the Erebus sacrifice, the war entered a new phase. The Krellians, their aura of invincibility shattered, found themselves beset on all sides as long-suppressed resentments boiled over into open rebellion. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had long chafed under the hegemony's rule saw in humanity's defiance a chance for their own liberation. Embassies were hastily established, diplomatic channels opened, as species that had never before dared to challenge Krellian dominance sought alliance with the upstart humans. Leading the charge was the Quixari Confederacy, a loose alliance of mercantile city-states that had long resented the hegemony's stranglehold on galactic trade. Their sleek, iridescent ships, equipped with advanced cloaking technology and lightning-fast attack drones, became a common sight in human space, escorting convoys and harrying Krellian supply lines. Joining them were the Zynthians, a race of psionic warriors whose abilities had been brutally suppressed by the Krellians for centuries. Their towering crystalline forms, pulsing with barely contained psychic energy, struck terror into the hearts of Krellian soldiers on 100 battlefields. But perhaps the most unexpected allies were the Vernix, a swarm intelligence of insectoid creatures that had long been dismissed by the Krellians as mere pests. In the humans, with their decentralized network of colonies and their emphasis on individual initiative, the Vernix saw kindred spirits. Their vast, organic hive ships became floating factories, churning out the weapons and supplies that fueled the human war machine. As the alliance grew, so too did the tide of the war begin to turn. Human innovation, Quixari stealth, Zynthian ferocity, and Vernix industry combined to forge a weapon that could strike at the very heart of Krellian power. Central to this effort was Project Unity, a joint human Quixari, Zynthian Vernix initiative to construct a fleet of super dreadnoughts, each one a fusion of the four species' most advanced technologies. At the heart of each dreadnought was a Zynthian psionic core, a massive crystalline matrix that could project a field of psionic force capable of disrupting Krellian shields and communications. As the first of these mighty ships, christened the UTS Concordia, in honor of the vessel that had made first contact, neared completion, the Alliance prepared for what they hoped would be the final offensive of the war. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. The Concordia and its sister ships would spearhead a direct assault on the Krullian homeworld, aiming to decapitate the hegemony's leadership and force a surrender. At the same time, Allied forces would launch coordinated attacks on key Krullian strongholds across the galaxy, stretching their forces to the breaking point. It was a gamble, a throw of the dice on a galactic scale. If it succeeded, it could bring the war to a swift and decisive end. If it failed, it would likely mean the end of any hope of resistance to Krullian rule. As the fleets gathered, as soldiers sharpened their blades and engineers made their final checks, a sense of grim determination settled over the Allied forces. They had come so far, sacrificed so much. They could not fail now. In command ships and cockpits, on battle stations and in drop bays, a single phrase echoed, a mantra of defiance and resolve. Remember the Erebus. Remember Earth. Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for all the free peoples of the galaxy. Today, we make our stand. Today, we end this. The final battle was about to begin. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity, once dismissed as upstarts and primitives, now stood at the vanguard of the greatest alliance the cosmos had ever seen. Come what may, they would face their destiny head-on, with courage, determination, and the indomitable spirit that had carried them to the stars. The precipice. The Allied fleet dropped out of hyperspace on the fringes of the Krullian home system, the vanguard of the greatest armada the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of ships, human and Quixari, Xinthian and Vernix, hung in the void, their hulls bristling with weapons primed and ready. At the heart of the formation, the UTS Concordia and her sister ships loomed, vast dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the mightiest Krullian battleships. Their psionic cores pulsed with barely contained energy, ready to unleash hell upon the enemy. On the bridge of the Concordia, Admiral Lena Sorensen, hero of the Battle of Proxima and architect of the Alliance, stood tall and resolute. Her eyes, once filled with the wonder of first contact, now blazed with the fire of a warrior born. All ships, this is Admiral Sorensen, she broadcast, her voice carried to every corner of the fleet by quantum-entangled comms. Today, we face the greatest challenge of our lives. Today, we stand against the might of an empire that has ruled the stars for millennia. She paused, letting her words sink in, feeling the weight of destiny upon her shoulders. But we do not stand alone. Look around you. See the ships of our allies, the brave warriors of 100 worlds who have cast off the shackles of oppression to join us in this fight. Together, we are stronger than any empire. Together, we will prevail. A cheer went up from the fleet, a roar of defiance and determination that shook the very fabric of space. Remember our fallen, Sorensen continued, her voice cracking with emotion. Remember the Erebus and all those who have given their lives in this struggle. Today, we fight in their memory. Today, we end this war. For Earth, for freedom, for the future. With a final battle cry, the fleet surged forward, the Concordia at its head, straight into the jaws of the Krullian defenses. The battle was joined, a maelstrom of fire and fury on a scale never before witnessed. Krullian warships, their fractal hulls pulsing with malevolent energy, met the Allied vanguard head-on, their weapons carving great swaths of destruction through the void. But the Allies gave as good as they got. Quixari stealth ships darted and wove through the Krullian formations, their attack drones striking at vital systems with surgical precision. Xinthian psionic blasts rent great crystalline battleships asunder, while Vernix swarm fighters overwhelmed point defenses through sheer weight of numbers. And at the heart of it all, the Concordia and her sister ships pressed forward, their psionic cores unleashing devastating waves of force that shattered Krullian shields like glass. For a moment, it seemed as if victory was within reach. The Krullian lines were buckling, their ships falling back in disarray. The Allied fleet surged forward, sensing the end in sight. But then, the tide turned. From the depths of the Krellian formation, a monstrous ship emerged, a vast, twisted thing of jagged crystal and pulsing darkness. It was a weapon out of nightmare, a Krellian doomsday device long rumored but never before seen. The ship, if it could even be called that, seemed to warp reality around it, space-time bending and distorting in its wake. Krellian ships scattered before it, seemingly as terrified of its power as the Allies. In an instant, the balance of the battle shifted. The doomsday weapon lashed out, a lance of pure entropy that cut through the Allied fleet like a scythe. Mighty dreadnoughts crumpled like tin foil, their crews atomized in an instant. Even the Concordia, with all her advanced shielding, shuddered and reeled under the onslaught. On the bridge, alarms screamed and consoles erupted in showers of sparks. Admiral Sorensen clung to the command chair as the deck bucked beneath her face grim with determination. "All ships, concentrate fire on that doomsday weapon," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We must take it down, no matter the cost." But even as the words left her lips, she knew it was hopeless. The weapon was too powerful, its defenses too strong. The Allied fleet was breaking, ships scattering in panic before the onslaught. In that moment, as despair threatened to overwhelm her, Sorensen's eyes fell upon the psionic core at the heart of the Concordia. An idea, born of desperation and the indomitable human spirit, took hold in her mind. She knew what she had to do. It was the only way. With a heavy heart, she turned to her crew, the men and women who had followed her to the very gates of hell. "It has been an honor serving with you all," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "Remember us. Remember what we fought for." Then, with a final defiant cry, she gave the order that would change the course of the war and of history itself. Ramming speed.